Good evening, everyone. It is 6:31, and I now call to order this evening's meeting of Lancaster City Council for April 11th, 2023. A couple of reminders at the top of the meeting for everyone in attendance. First, this is a good opportunity to silence your cell phones or other devices. This meeting is being recorded and live streamed on the city's YouTube channel, so if you are in this room, you are being recorded. And last reminder, there are several public comment periods this evening. Public comment period is limited to no longer than 3 minutes per speaker per topic. I'll remind you that again. For all of those who are willing and able, please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Mr. Harris, would you please call the roll of members?
Yes, Madam President. Mr. Ahmed.
Here.
Mr. Arroyo.
Here.
Mr. Calise.
Here.
Ms. Craig.
Here.
Ms. Diaz.
Here.
Ms. Walsh.
Here.
And President Baker.
Here. We begin this evening with the approval of the minutes from the March 28th meeting from 2023.
Motion to approve. Second.
We have a motion and a second on the meeting minutes. Any counselor comments on the minutes? Hearing none. Mr. Harris?
Mr. Ahmed.
Aye.
Mr. Arroyo.
Aye.
Mr. Calise.
Aye.
Ms. Craig.
Aye.
Ms. Diaz.
Aye.
Ms. Walsh.
Aye.
President Baker.
Aye. We begin with proclamations, honors, awards, and resolutions of recognition. I believe we have a few this evening. Mr. Harris, the first resolution.
Yes, Madam President. Resolution 22, 2023. A resolution of the Council of the City of Lancaster recognizing April 2023 as Sexual Assault Awareness Month and calling on Lancastrians to create a city where sexual abuse, harassment, and assault is not tolerated, where victim survivors are supported, where accountability is delivered, and where all people have an opportunity to thrive without fear of abuse or assault, and recognizing the YWCA Lancaster Sexual Assault Prevention and Counseling Center as Lancaster County's designated rape crisis center, providing services to victim survivors, and providing education and prevention services in an effort to lessen sexual violence across our region.
Councilors, I hear a motion.
Motion to approve. Second.
We have a motion and a second. I was proud to introduce our Sexual Assault Awareness Month resolution again this year in conjunction with the YWCA. The YWCA is our designated rape crisis center for Lancaster County and also provides a number of services for survivors of sexual assault and education and prevention. And it's my honor to welcome staff members from the YWCA this evening to speak a little bit about their services and the importance of this month. I believe we have Starlisha Gingrich who will be speaking this evening.
Good evening. Thank you all for having us. We at the YWCA are so appreciative for your support. My name is Starlisha Gingrich. I am the new Communications and Community Outreach Specialist for YWCA Lancaster's Sexual Assault Prevention and Counseling Center. We are honored to have such strong partners in the City of Lancaster and Lancaster City Council as we work to raise awareness about sexual assault, advocate for victim survivors to receive justice, and provide no-cost counseling for anyone impacted by sexual assault, whether directly or indirectly. For more than 33 years, YWCA Lancaster has served as the Rape Crisis Center for Lancaster County. In partnership with area hospitals, universities, law enforcement offices, and more, we have helped tens of thousands of Lancastrians on their journey towards healing and justice. Despite this, our challenge remains. In 2022 alone, we engaged more than 5,300 individuals of all genders and identities with our services, including more than 200 hotline calls to our 24-hour locally operated sexual assault hotline. This year's Sexual Assault Awareness Month theme from the National Sexual Violence Resource Center is Drawing Connections, Prevention Demands Equity. Black women and women of color are disproportionately likely to experience sexual assault in their lifetimes. And as you may have seen from our equity profile of Lancaster County released earlier this year, Black Lancastrians have an average life expectancy of 5 years shorter than white Lancastrians. These challenges are systemic, but they are not intractable. Thanks to great partners like Lancaster City Council and agencies across the county, YWCA Lancaster has been able to expand our programming and meet emergent community needs through efforts like the District Attorney's Human Trafficking Task Force and our Legal Assistance for Victims program through the U.S. Department of Justice. We are proud to work with so many dedicated partners across industry and sector to achieve our mission of eliminating racism, empowering women, and supporting victim survivors of all genders to create a just future for Lancaster County. I also want to plug, this is National Sexual Assault Awareness Month, and we have a lot of programs happening at the YWCA throughout the month. If you go to ywcalancaster.org/SAAM, you can find our complete list of programming. Thank you again for this honor, and we look forward to continuing to partner with you.
Ms. Alicia, thank you so much, and thank you for providing that information about where folks can find events. At this time, I'll take any council comments on the motion. Or any comments from the public? Hearing none, Mr. Harris.
Mr. Ahmed,
Aye.
Mr. Arroyo,
Aye.
Mr. Calise,
Aye.
Ms. Gregg,
Aye.
Ms. Diaz,
Aye.
Ms. Walsh,
Aye.
and President Baker.
Aye. Thank you very much. I just want to take a moment to pause because I do have a copy of this resolution for your staff and for your offices. So if you provide me for just a moment, forbearance. Mr. Harris, our next proclamation.
Yes, Madam President. Our next proclamation is regarding Lancaster County Climate Summit Day.
Thank you very much. And that's a mayoral proclamation. Mayor Sirachi.
Thank you, Council President. I'm really excited to be, we have a lot of things that we're celebrating and honoring, acknowledging as part of the month of April. Obviously, we just talked about Sexual Assault Awareness Month. It is also April 22nd also marks Earth Day, and there is a Lancaster County Climate Summit that will be happening later this month, and I have Joyce here, Joyce Burkholder, and and Eric Souder from Regen All, who have been coordinating a lot of environmental efforts here in the city. I will be sharing a little bit in my mayor's report today and prefacing that with a fuller report that's coming to council related to the city's climate action plan. But wanted to take a minute to note the effort that is happening as part of Earth Day and the coordination that's happening. So whereas our community is deeply concerned about the impacts of climate change and the future health and well-being of our planet and our people, and believes energy efficiency, natural resource conservation, and a demand by the voting public for action by elected officials are important elements to combating climate change. And whereas average global temperatures have already increased more than 2 degrees Fahrenheit since 1880, and scientists have long stressed the need to keep temperature increases below 1.5 degrees Celsius to avoid the most catastrophic of climate change scenarios. Whereas Earth Day is celebrated on April 22nd, 2023, which brings awareness about climate change issues to encourage businesses, individuals, and government to take action to reduce their carbon emission, their impact on the environment, and their daily lives. And whereas the Lancaster County Climate Summit is a community-focused event for concerned citizens, businesses, and local government to advance climate awareness and find ways to take action in Lancaster County. And whereas this summit is being organized by a multi-organizational planning committee, including Regen All, and is being hosted by 6 downtown Lancaster sites. So therefore, I, Mayor Sirachi, do proclaim April 22nd, 2023 as Lancaster County Climate Summit Day. Look forward to participating in the summit, as well as Director Campbell and many, many others, encouraging everyone to check out a very full list of events and topics that are part of this day, and encourage everyone to not be overwhelmed by doomsday scenarios, that there is a lot of really good work happening, and there are still many, many opportunities to course correct. And so with that, I would like to present this proclamation to you in recognition of your planning efforts and efforts to continue to elevate this issue and its importance in our community.
Thank you very much for your work on the Climate Summit. Mayor Sirachi, I'm going to continue to toss it back to you because our next item is another mayoral proclamation.
And, you know, I don't have that one. I think Bernie has that.
I do.
Okay.
Proclamation Child Abuse Prevention Month, April 2023. Whereas child abuse and neglect is a community problem affecting both the current and future quality of life of the community, and whereas child maltreatment occurs when people find themselves in stressful situations without community resources and do not know how to cope, and whereas the majority of child abuse cases stem from situations and conditions that are preventable in an engaged and supportive community, and whereas child abuse and neglect are prevented by making sure each family has the support they need to raise their children in a healthy environment, and whereas child abuse and neglect not only cause immediate harm to children, but are also proven to increase the likelihood of criminal behavior, substance abuse, health problems such as heart disease and obesity, and risky behaviors such as smoking, and whereas all citizens should become involved in supporting families to provide safe, nurturing environments for their children, giving them the opportunity to grow up to be caring, contributing members of the community, and whereas effective child abuse prevention programs succeed because of partnerships created among social service agencies, schools, faith communities, civic organizations, law enforcement agencies, and the business community. Now, therefore, I, Deneen Sirachi, Mayor of the City of Lancaster, Pennsylvania, do hereby proclaim April 2023 as Child Abuse Prevention Month and call upon all citizens, community agencies, faith groups, medical facilities, elected leaders, and businesses to increase their participation in efforts to support families, thereby preventing child abuse and strengthening the communities in which we live.
Thank you, Bernie.
Thank you, Mr. Harris. And thank you, Mayor Sirachi. We now move, to our first public comment period. This public comment period is reserved for residents who have contacted the city clerk prior to this meeting to request the opportunity to address city council. As I stated at the top of the meeting, comments are limited to no longer than 3 minutes per person per item. Mr. Harris, do we have public comment this evening?
Yes, Madam President, we do. We have 5 people for public comment at the beginning of the meeting. First is Daniel Lavalle.
Good evening.
Good evening, and thank you. Good evening, Mayor Sorachi and City Council members. My name is Daniel Valle, and I am the State Director at an organization called CASA. We are a nonprofit grassroots organization who serves immigrant and Black and brown and working class individuals and families. While Lancaster City is one of 18 certified welcoming cities across the U.S., the Lancaster Trust Act will provide a crucial and necessary layer of protection for immigrants and refugees in Lancaster. The Welcoming City certification encourages immigrants and refugees to settle in Lancaster, creating a diverse, global representation and workforce. This requires legal protection from being targeted by local city officials. Not too far from here, or too long ago, Republican, then Hazleton Mayor Lou Barletta, passed a local law, a first of its kind in the nation, that will prevent undocumented immigrants from moving into Hazleton. This was ruled unconstitutional by the federal courts. This is only one case that proves immigrants continue to be targeted in the state. Monitoring a familiar highway corridor in Pennsylvania was a state police officer, Luke Mackey, who racially profiled Latinos. In one of the many cases involving his stops, he pulled over 10 Latino men traveling to New York from a conference in Georgia. The traffic stop turned into a nightmare when the officer swung open the van's rear door and demanded everyone's papers. In 2017, the Philadelphia Regional ICE Office made more at-large arrests of immigrants without criminal convictions than any of their 23 regional counterparts. ProPublica said it was open season on undocumented immigrants in Pennsylvania. Philadelphia saw the benefits of creating safe spaces for immigrants and refugees. The numbers show it. The city has trust protections since 2014, and since then, crime has fallen to 17%. This is a level that they haven't seen in decades. In support of being a sanctuary city, the Philadelphia city mayor said, "All of us have ancestors who were once immigrants." While Philadelphia may be the only Trust Act jurisdiction in the Commonwealth, our neighbor to the south has been proactive with Baltimore, Hyattsville, Annapolis, Riverdale, and dozens more Maryland cities and counties, serving as a testament to many benefits of the Trust Act. Immigrants and their neighbors in Lancaster deserve similar protections. In a study between 2014 and 2019, the population of Lancaster County increased by 6.5%. The immigrant population grew by 16.2%. 18% of the total population growth in the county was attributable to immigrants. In 2019, immigrants paid
30 seconds, Mr. Valle.
$89.2 million in federal taxes and $60.1 million in state and local taxes. And despite making up 8.2% of the overall area's population in 2019, immigrants represented 21.1% of manufacturing jobs, 11.8% of hospitality workers, and 11.7% of education workers. The Lancaster Trust Act must be passed like hundreds of jurisdictions across the country. It will prevent unnecessary inquiries about immigration status and nationality, allow Lancaster City employees and officials to accept photo IDs issued by state or foreign government or a nonprofit organization as an acceptable form of identification, provide
10
reassurance
seconds.
to report domestic violence or other situations where a member of the immigrant community has been the victim of a crime without fear of their information being shared to ICE. It will repair the broken relationships between city officials and the immigrant community and will improve public safety for all the residents of the city. As you are about to hear, Lancaster City residents are affected without this added layer of protection. The time to pass the bill is now. Immigrants and refugees deserve it, and the city is asking for it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Harris, our next speaker.
Yes, Madam President. Next is Lourdes Franque.
Lourdes is actually going to be translating for someone. Is it
Okay.
okay if she comes up
That's
here
fine.
with the member who's going to
Mhm.
speak?
And I'm going to allow just a little extra time when there's translation, just because I know it will take a little bit longer, but I will continue to give you prompts on 30 seconds, 10 seconds, okay?
So the
Okay.
individual.
Next speaker then would be Gabriela Guzman.
Good evening.
Good evening. Hola, mi nombre es Gabriela Guzmán, soy mexicana, tengo aproximadamente 17 años viviendo en Lancaster, también soy miembro de casa desde hace 3 años.
Hello, my name is Gabriela Guzman. I am from Mexico. I have been living in Lancaster for past 17 years. I have been a member of CASA for 3 years.
En el mes de febrero, mi esposo fue a una reunión regular de probación. Estaba cumpliendo con la ley y al salir de la oficina donde hizo su pago, ya estaban 2 personas vestidas de civiles esperándolo, lo que eran agentes de ICE.
In the month of February, my husband went for a regular probation visit, complying with the law. And when he left of the office, we had met his payment. There were already 2 people dressed as civilians waiting for him, who were ICE agents.
Yo inmediatamente entré en pánico y miedo al ver cómo estaban esposando a mi esposo. Todo pasó frente a mí y no sabía si bajar del carro por miedo de que también me llevaran a mí.
I immediately panicked, and he was afraid to see who they handcuffed my husband. And all this happened in front of me. I didn't know if should get out of the car, out of a fear that they would also take me.
Es una frustración y dolor ver cómo lo tenían como si fuera un delincuente o un asesino y no poder hacer nada. Inmediatamente lo metieron a una patrulla y fue llevado a un centro de detención por no tener un estatus migratorio en este país.
It is frustrating and painful to see who they had him, as if he were a criminal or murderer, and not being to able to do anything. They immediately put him in a car, and he was taken to a detention center for not having an immigrant status in this country.
Los siguientes días fueron horribles por la incertidumbre de no saber qué pasaría con mi esposo. Gracias a Dios y a su abogada, ella está con nosotros.
The following days were horrible due to the uncertainty of knowing what will happen to my husband. Thank you of God and his lawyer. He is already us again.
Quiero que sepan que ahora temo encontrarme con un policía y pensar que llamará a ICE, como pasó con mi esposo. Es triste y lamentable que no nos podamos sentir seguros de vivir en este hermoso pueblo.
I want you to know that I am afraid of meeting a police officer and thinking that he could call ICE, like who it is happened with my husband. It is sad and unfortunately that we now feel saving living in this beautiful town.
Necesito sentirme segura de recorrer las calles, segura de trabajar, segura de que si me siento en peligro, poder llamar a la policía y que me proteja.
I need to feel safe walking the street, safe to work. Sure that if I feel in danger, I can call the police and they will protect.
30 seconds.
Con esta acta de confianza en la ciudad de Lancaster, nuestras familias y nuestras comunidades inmigrantes nos sentiremos más seguros y protegidos cuando salgamos a las calles.
There are many immigrants with the Lancaster Trust Act. Our immigrants, families, and communities will feel safer and more protected when we are on the street. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Harris, our next speaker.
Yes, Madam President. Next is Guadalupe Almanza.
Good evening.
Hola, buenas tardes. Mi nombre es Guadalupe Almanza. Soy esposa y madre de 4 hijos y abuela de una hermosa nieta.
Hello, my name is Guadalupe Almanza. I am a wife, a mother of 4 children, and grandmother of a beautiful little granddaughter.
Soy de México, tengo 19 años en la ciudad de Lancaster y soy miembro de casa desde hace 4 años.
I am from Mexico and have been living in the city of Lancaster for 19 years, sorry. And have been a member of CASA for 4 years.
Les voy a contar un poco de la historia de mi hijo Jorge Espinosa.
I am going to tell you a little about story of my son Jorge Espinosa.
Resulta que en noviembre del 2022, Jorge y Christopher, 2 de mis hijos,
That occurred in November 2022. Jorge and Christopher, 2 of my sons,
estuvieron pasando un rato agradable, solo ellos 2 en casa. Y a la medianoche, Chris se retiró a dormir.
were hanging out, and at midnight, Chris went to sleep.
A Jorge se le hizo fácil salir a comprar cigarrillos a la tienda.
Jorge went out to go buy some cigars at the store.
No había manejado mucho cuando un venado se atravesó en su camino.
He had not driven much when the deer crossed his path.
Lo que esto provocó un accidente a él.
Which it caused him to get into an accident.
Cuando llegó la policía, en ningún momento le preguntó cómo se sentía o si tenía alguna herida por el accidente.
When the police arrived, they never asked him who he felt or if he had any injuries from the accident.
Simplemente lo metieron a la patrulla y se lo llevaron.
They just put him in the patrol car and took him away.
Y ahí comenzó su calvario. Lo detuvo la policía de Lancaster, fue llevado a la cárcel.
And there is where his ordeal begin. The Lancaster police arrest him. He was to take it to jail, and they some.
En ese mismo día llegó ICE por él. Ahora él está en un proceso de deportación.
And that someday ICE arrive for him. No, he is in the process of deportation.
Yo creo que ninguna persona de la comunidad migrante aquí
I believe that no person from the immigrant community here should go through this sad situation.
La policía no tiene que pasar información de nosotros a ICE, debería de ser totalmente confidencial.
The police do not have to share information about us with ICE. It should be confidential.
Nosotros nos sentimos a gusto y felices de vivir, trabajar y aportar a esta linda ciudad de Lancaster.
We feel comfortable and happy to live, work, and contribute to this beautiful city.
Solo pedimos que nos apoyen con esta acta de confianza para que todos nos sintamos protegidos y seguros.
We only ask that you support us with this Trust Act so that we'll all feel protected and safe.
30 seconds.
Cuando salgamos a la calle a caminar o tengamos una emergencia, podamos llamar a la policía sin ningún temor de que ellos pasen nuestra información a ICE.
When we go out for a walk or having an emergency, we can call the police without any fear that they will pass information on to ICE.
Sí, al acta de confianza. Gracias.
Yes to Trust Act. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Harris, our next speaker.
Next is Kevin Lynn.
City Council members.
Good evening.
Madam Mayor, thank you very much. My name is Kevin Lynn. I live just a few blocks down the way, and I have a lot to impart, so I'll just read right off the script. I'm here this evening to state why I'm opposed to giving $250,000 of America Rescue Plan dollars to Church World Services. In 2022, CWS took in $150,186,000, of which 76.3%, or $114,591,000, came directly from the federal government, us taxpayers. I look outside my windows each day and see homeless sleeping outside the county building and panhandling on our sidewalks. Surely we have a better plan that doesn't facilitate importing more poverty into our city and county. And while I'm talking about poverty, nationally, the poverty rate is 12.8%. The county, it's 8.8. Here in the city, it is 19.9. A couple years ago, there was a fluff piece in the Lancaster paper in which the director of CWS stated, "Diversity is astounding, with public schools here reporting over 70 languages spoken by students, giving Lancaster County a worldly identity, belaying its Pennsylvania Dutch image." However, let's look at the stats. 47% of our schools are below average. 53% are rated average. None of them rated above average. Diversity is not helping us. Now let's talk the fiscal impact of refugees. 1 out of 3 refugees, ages 25 to 64, prime working age, have no education beyond the 6th grade. 18% have four-year degrees compared to 34% for natives nationwide and 30% here in the county. Refugees who enter as adults have larger negative impacts fiscally than youth. According to the Center for Immigration Studies, the best estimate of the average refugee's lifetime fiscal cost expressed at net present value is $60,000, and for those entering as adults, upwards of $130,000. Granted, the United States should be willing to, the question really is, there's a cost to these humanitarian goals, and we here at the municipal level feel it every day in very real ways. According to the New York Times, 40% of children in immigrant households live below poverty. Also, and lastly, these are not refugees that we're seeing showing up. the Biden administration has created a
30
new...
seconds, Mr. Lynn.
Excuse me?
30 seconds.
Thank you. A new private sponsorship program called Welcome Corps, in which federal funds pass to private sponsor organizations and onto private sponsor groups. Welcome Corps allows individuals to select their own refugees, allowing advocates to decide who is allowed into the country and the opportunity to become an American citizen. Even non-citizens and green card holders.
10 seconds.
Now, and lastly, according to the United Nations Refugee Agency, of the 21 million refugees under its mandate in 2023, 2 million are in need of resettlement. Will those picked for resettlement by private sponsors be drawn from this pool, selected by the High Commission on Refugees, or
Mr.
will they
Lynn, that is
instead be
your
chosen
time.
by family and friends? Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Harris, our next speaker. Oh, that was our last. I've lost count. Thank you. Thank you for everyone from CASA for coming out this evening. I know that some of you were only here for the public comment portion of our meeting, and while we do welcome you to stay, we understand if you need to go. So I'll give you a moment, if you are leaving at this time, just a pause to allow you to step out if you'd like. Thank you. Thank you for coming. And we'll just resume in a minute, so. Just gonna. Okay. I'm going to keep going. Thank you, everyone. Our next item on our agenda is reports requested by council. Do we have any of those this evening, Mr. Harris?
We do not, Madam President.
Thank you. Then we move to reports of committees of council, council committees that were held on April 3rd, 2023. We began with our Public Safety Committee. Councilor Diaz.
Well, the fact that we did meet and the fact that we discussed the Trust Act here, I feel that we really need to take a look at this. Back in December 2022, I have forwarded an email to council. I sent it out to the solicitor and also included Maria Diaz from CASA and also Daniel Avilas from CASA. They never received a response. So at this point, I feel that, especially since I did receive also phone calls from people that were detained, and I had to give their family members the sad story of the fact that they were detained and possibly not see them again. I make a motion right now that we make it available to full council for discussion on April 25th. I think it's time to not keep pushing this under the table. I think it's important to respond to our voters and our people that pay taxes, immigrants that are going through trouble, and nobody speaking up. So I'm here to speak up. I'm making this motion that we move this to full council for discussion on April 25th.
Councilor Diaz has used her committee report to make a motion. I believe that that is in order. Is there a second on her motion? Is this, I want to clarify, just to discuss the Trust Act at the meeting on the 25th? Is that correct?
Yeah, because then we'll have to move it then to full council for a vote, so,
Okay.
yes.
I will second that motion.
There's a second. We'll take councilor comments on the motion. I'll just begin and kick us off. I appreciate that, Councilor Diaz, and I appreciate everyone that's here tonight and everyone who's reached out to us about it. but putting this on our agenda on the 25th will allow us to further investigate the instances that were brought to our attention here this evening, to find out if they occurred in Lancaster City, outside of the city, in county, it sounded like perhaps county offices as well, which may be out of our control, but I would like to discuss what may be in our control and what our police policy is today, and if it aligns with trust policy.
If I
Mayor
may,
Sracci.
I just have to take this opportunity to thank all of the CASA representatives that are here, and I want to be very clear that our policy in the city of Lancaster precludes our police officers from participating in any way with ICE. And I have a gentleman here that's shaking his head no. And as the head of, I am in charge of the police bureau, the only way that I can understand and be clear about an investigation that may need to happen or to take action, I literally had this conversation with our chief just a couple of weeks ago, reaffirming this policy, and we had a conversation about making sure that all of our officers knew that we do not cooperate with ICE in any circumstance. We are a municipal police bureau. We are not an arm of the federal government. We do not take this lightly. We want everyone in the city of Lancaster to feel safe to come forward if you've been a victim of crime or you know something about a crime. The two instances that were shared earlier this evening are the first that I'm hearing about that. Counselor Diaz is also intimating that she is getting calls. None of that information has been shared with me to be able to conduct an investigation, to understand that if this is in fact any hint of a Lancaster City Police Bureau activity, that we take that very, very serious. My phone number is 717-291-4701. That is my office number. I encourage you to call my office directly with any direct knowledge that you have about a Lancaster City police officer behaving in any way outside of our existing policy. That policy has been in existence since 2018. It is something that I fiercely defend. Our chief also believes very strongly in this, Chief Mendez. I'm sorry he can't be here tonight. We didn't know you all were coming. But we appreciate having continued conversation about other elements that are in the trust policy that we want to understand more and look forward to that. But I just want to make perfectly clear that our policy in the city of Lancaster stands. We do not participate with ICE in any way. And if there are specific instances that you as a community know, please bring them to my attention as soon as possible so that we can investigate and understand what exactly is happening. As you all know, there are many layers of government, and as mayor and as city councilors, we want to make sure that we're not promising you things that we can't deliver. We're not in charge of adult probation and parole. We don't have jurisdiction beyond the boundaries of the city of Lancaster. There are many police departments in the city of Lancaster, and they all have their own individual policies and practices as well. And we don't have control over that, but we do have control over the city police department. And we have a chief, Chief Richard Mendez, who stands with me on this topic. And very specifically, we have discussed this in recent weeks. So I just want to make clear what our policy is, and obviously we can continue to have a conversation about the trust policy, but there is a lot of, I just want to make certain that you understand what our existing policy is, and for council to know that that is our policy, and at no time during my time as mayor have we ever participated in any kind of retainer or detention.
Thank you, Mayor Sracci. Mr. Avia, just a note, for the instances that were described this evening, would you be able to send the specific names and dates to us, just so that we have them correct, so that we can investigate them further now that we are aware, find out if they happened with Lancaster Bureau of Police officers?
If I may, President.
Thank you. Councilor Diaz.
In regards to I'm just going to say the one person, the other one I have to basically let it to the resident if they wish to speak. I know one is a person from Nepal. They were incarcerated in Lancaster prison. So the way I actually channeled it was to go to the police in Lancaster City in order to locate that family member. And thereafter, I just let it for them to get an attorney so they can go ahead and see how they can get their family member back. I did not follow up because I felt that's, between them. If they need me, I'm here for them, just like everybody else. For some reason, everybody feels safe to speak to me, maybe because of the fact that I speak the same language, or because I'm a person of color, or because everybody knows me in Lancaster. I mean, that's granted. So I just wanted to emphasize that.
Thank you. Are there further council comments?
Council President, if I may.
Councilor Ahmed.
I just want to just make it aware that, I do think that it is important that we at least speak on this further, look into it, speak with the city solicitor, speak with Chief Mendez to find out what are we currently doing in our policy, what are some legal ramifications that may occur if we do adopt this Trust Act. But I do believe that it's important that we at least speak on it further.
Thank you, Councilor Ahmed.
Council President, if I may.
Councilor Walsh.
Two questions. One, where can the public find this 2018 policy regarding the police cooperation or not cooperation with ICE that's in existence today?
That's a great question. Mayor Sarachi, is that published policy? I know that we were working to publish, but they're not all available yet.
Yeah, so the policy, I can share that with you. It's an internal policy. We can, and let me just also make clear that we are going through a process right now of accreditation, which means that we're reviewing all of our policies. This has taken some time because we've gone through some leadership changes at every level within the Police Bureau, and so the new command staff is working through that. The element of the trust policy related to the police will be included in the new policies. However, I want to make clear that those policies in their entirety, they typically don't come before City Council. There are other elements within the trust policy that are, that need further consideration, that have nothing to do with the police, that we need to have further conversation between CASA solicitor and our solicitor to understand the implications for implementation as it relates to our hiring practices, not related to anything related to the police. So I just want to make clear that the police policy exists and stands, and I understand the importance of codifying that through this larger issue. If we were just focusing on that, we could have moved faster. There are other elements of this that we need to unpack.
Thank you, Mayor Sarachi. Councilor Arroyo?
Thank you, Council President. And just a point of clarification for Councilor Diaz, will we be reviewing a draft resolution that you'll be presenting to council, or what will we necessarily be discussing?
We do have a copy that I believe I had sent to President Bakay, and I'm sure she could forward that to you once she reviews it with the solicitor. It was also because Daniel had mentioned that it was passed in several other city councils in Maryland, if I'm not mistaken, and Virginia. So it's not something that's not known. It's out there in the public. A lot of people have read it. California, I went and reached out to Naleo's policymakers to see if there's any type of ramification, if it was a policy that we could pass here in Pennsylvania and in Lancaster. So there isn't a lot that that we would have to go through, but it would be something that should be reviewed. And I leave it to the president to move forward with that.
And if I may, Council President. First of all, thank you to the CASA members for showing up tonight. Really appreciate your advocacy in this effort. I agree with Councilor Ahmed, where as a welcoming city, we should be reviewing this, and there's always room for improvement across all bureaus of public safety within our community. I will say, as Chair of Public Safety, I would expect Councilor Diaz to present a draft that is not boilerplate, as the Trust Act that was submitted doesn't necessarily pertain to Lancaster, but is more broad in scope. I think this council deserves a more focused approach to something that applies to Lancaster City, and I hope Councilor Diaz, as Chair of Public Safety, can present that at the next council meeting so we can thoughtfully consider it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Arroyo. Further council comments? Councilor Calixte.
Thank you to CASA members for coming tonight. And I just want to say that it's important to review the policy and to make sure that it lines up to the city's policy. And we need time to review it in order to take actions. It's important because people need to walk in Lancaster and feel safe. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Kalixt. Okay. We'll take comments from the public on the motion. Again, this is a motion to discuss the Trust Act as part of our April 25th agenda. Hearing none, Mr. Harris.
On the motion to add this to the agenda for the April 25th meeting, Mr. Ahmed.
Aye.
Mr. Arroyo.
Aye.
Mr. Calise.
Aye.
Ms. Craig.
Aye.
Ms. Diaz.
Aye.
Ms. Walsh.
Aye.
And President Baker.
Aye. Thank you very much, Councilor Diaz.
Thank
Do you
you.
have anything further for public safety?
No, that'll be all for.
Thank you very much. Our next report of committee of council is Public Works. Councilor Walsh.
Thank you, Council President. The Public Works Committee did meet briefly, but ultimately the presentation that was scheduled was moved. And that is everything. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Walsh. Economic Development Committee, Councilor Arroyo.
Thank you, Council President. The Economic Development Committee did meet to discuss Administration Bill Number 6, 2023. That will also appear for a first reading on the agenda later on this evening. That concludes my report.
Thank you. Finance Committee, Councilor Ahmed.
Thank you, Council President. The Finance Committee did meet, and we discussed resolutions, Resolution Number 23, amending the capital improvement plan funded by 2016A bonds. Also, Resolution Number 24, 2023, amending the capital improvement plan funded by 2018 bonds, as well as Resolution Number 25, 2023, amending the capital improvement plans funded by 2022 bonds.
Thank you, Councilor Ahmed.
Thank you.
We have Community Planning Committee, Councilor Craig.
Thank you, Council President. Community Planning did meet on April 3rd. We had 5 items on the agenda, first being Administration Resolution Number 26, amending the sewer facilities plan to include 422 Ruby Street Development Project. Administration Resolution 27, 2023, approving the Community Development Block Grant Action Plan. The third was Administration Resolution Number 28, authorizing a cooperation agreement with the YWCA Lancaster for grant funding. The fourth was Administration Resolution 29, 2023, authorizing a cooperation agreement with College Avenue Administration Property Holdings LLC for grant funding. And Administration Resolution 30, appropriating and approving uses for ARPA funds for the creation of homeless shelters, facilities, and provisions of homeless services, most of which will come up later on our agenda.
Thank you very much, Councilor Craig. We'll be busy later on in our legislative agenda. And lastly, Personnel Committee, Councilor Kalixt.
Thank you, Madam President. The Personnel Committee met briefly on April 3rd and discussed the nomination of Marlene Barbosa to the Lancaster City Board of Health. I guess Marlene is here tonight.
Yes.
If you'd like, come forward, please.
Good evening.
Good evening. Thank you for being here tonight, and thank you for your willingness to serve. Would you please introduce yourself to council and tell us about your interest in serving on the board of
Absolutely.
health?
So good evening, Mayor Sarashi, council members, staff. My name is Marlene Barbosa. I have worked in the city for the last 15 years at SACA, which is the Human Services Organization here in the city. My role over there is I'm the director of the Workforce Initiative. I'm honored to be considered to this opportunity as a new member of the Board of Health. If I'm confirmed, I intend to provide support to help educate city residents on the board initiatives. As the board mission states, to protect, promote the healthy, sanitary, and safe environment of the city citizens. As my role, I'm working in the community. I believe I can be a great asset to the Board of Health to ensure that the city residents has equitable access to information, education in this issue of board health, and to ensure that they know, and as we have, all these residents with CASAs, to ensure that everybody in the city, as a resident, has the information they need, and we are able to provide that equitable information in different languages. I think as a minority resident of the county, working in the city, spending most of my day working with city residents, I feel that we have a responsibility to ensure that our community is educated. And if I can do that as a board member of the Bureau of Health, I'll be more than happy to join those efforts. Thank you.
Okay, any question from the members of the committee or any questions from council? Any questions or comments from the public?
I just want to thank Marilyn, thank you. I'm really looking forward to having you on the Board of Health, and I want to thank you and SACA for your partnership over many years and working with Kim on our fresh food initiatives and many of the other initiatives that you've been part of. So I feel like this will be a seamless transition for you onto the Board of Health, and we're really glad to have you.
Thank you, Mayor.
Any other comments? Thank you,
Thank you.
Ms. Marilyn, good luck. And now I'll make a motion to appoint Marlene Barbosa to the Lancaster City Board of Health.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any other council comments? We've just been through this, but I'll double check.
I can just make one comment.
Councilor Diaz.
Thank you so much. I know that when I go over there and I see all those elderlies and interact with them, I'm really excited that they have a place to go and a place to pick up some food. Even though you try to give me some, I say, no, that's okay. So thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Diaz. Any other comments from the public? We'll make this official. Hearing none, Mr. Harris.
Mr. Ahmed.
Aye.
Mr. Arroyo.
Aye.
Mr. Cleese.
Aye.
Ms. Gregg.
Aye.
Ms. Diaz.
Aye.
Ms. Walsh.
Aye.
President Baker.
Aye. Thank you, and congratulations. Now extension. All right, our next item on the agenda is items in the Historic District. Mr. Harris.
Yes, Madam President. Considering the following application and recommendation from the Historical Architectural Review Board for improvements to a property in the Historic District, we have one this evening. Tenfold Transitional Living Center, owner of 105 East King Street, requests construction of a ground floor entry and window replacements and new signage. And that application was recommended for approval by the Historical Architectural Review Board.
Motion to approve.
Second?
There is a motion and a second. Councilor Craig, any notes about these items, or this item?
At a regular meeting on April 4th, the Historical Review Board considered a recommendation and recommended approval for the project at 105 East King Street. Applicant is Tenfold Transitional Living Center. The applicant is requesting reconstruction of a ground floor entry, window replacements, and signage. So that's about.
As it says.
Yeah, and I'll
Mayor
just say
Srirachi.
that, they were part of the ARPA award process for the renovations that are part of that property. If you visit there, you know how hard it is to get a stroller in and out of those steps. And if you have other accommodations that you need for mobility, it's very difficult. So this realignment of the entry will be very important to serve future guests.
Absolutely. Any other comments from council? Or from the public on the item? Hearing none, Mr. Harris.
Mr. Ahmed.
Aye.
Mr. Arroyo.
Aye.
Mr. Cleese.
Aye.
Ms. Gregg.
Aye.
Ms. Diaz.
Aye.
Ms. Walsh.
Aye.
President Baker.
Aye. All right. Next item on the agenda are ordinances for first reading. Administration Bill Number 6, 2023. Mr. Harris.
An ordinance of the City Council of the City of Lancaster, Lancaster County, Pennsylvania, appropriating funds and directing the award of contracts for capital projects, supporting programs, improving service delivery, quality of life, health, economic opportunity, and equitable outcomes under and pursuant to the American Rescue Plan Act, providing for the repeal of inconsistent ordinances, providing for the severability of the ordinance, and providing that the ordinance shall take effect as provided by Pennsylvania law.
Thank you, Mr. Harris. Again, this is a first reading this evening. It's being introduced by Councilor Arroyo.
Thank you, Council President. If I may, I'd like to recap what I mentioned during the last committee meeting.
Yes, please.
This is a first reading of Administration Bill Number 6, 2023, which allocates American Rescue Plan Act funds for community facilities projects. I'd like to give a brief recap of the process that got us to this point, followed by the recommendation of the Committee for Awards. A quick note on the RFP and review process. This process was reviewed and approved by full council. Our 2 requests for proposals for affordable housing projects and community facilities were informed by public input. A public request for proposals was issued back on November 28th, 2022. This RFP was intended to see creative, sustainable ideas for projects that enhance equitable outcomes and achieve the following desired outcomes, such as support for public programs with a demonstrated history of success and impact, improve services to city residents, improve quality of life and health for city residents, improve economic opportunity for city residents, and all sealed proposals were opened on January 24th of 2023. There were 21 proposals that were received that requested approximately $40 million in funding for projects totaling over $75 million. Proposals were evaluated by the quality of responses in the following areas: project impact, project plan, cooperation, collaboration, and leverage, organizational capacity, and budget. A committee made up of myself, Council President Bakay, Mayor Sarachi, and city staff, including Sidney McCormick and Britt McGowan, reviewed all the proposals and determined the following recommendation to council. The committee would like to bring the following recommendations to council to fund the following proposals in this bill. The Boys and Girls Club of Lancaster in the amount of $600,000 for renovations to an existing facility. Church World Service in the amount of $250,000 for renovating and expanding an existing facility and a welcome center for refugees. Community Action Partnership of Lancaster County in the amount of $400,000 for renovation to an existing facility, specifically for Crispus Attucks Community Center and Domestic Violence Services. Lancaster Public Library in the amount of $500,000 for the filling gap in the funding of new library construction. Lancaster Recreation Commission in the amount of $750,000 for renovation of Price Elementary School into a community center. Saca Development Corporation, Centro Hispano, in the amount of $500,000 for renovating Hispanic Community Center to provide human services. Saca Development Corporation, Tech Centro, in the amount of $500,000 for renovating unused space in an existing facility to provide vocational technical training. South End Concerned Neighbors in the amount of $250,000 for building a community hub in the southeast. Brightside Opportunities Corporation in the amount of $500,000 for renovations of an existing facility. Welsh Mountain Health Centers, also known as Union Community Care, in the amount of $500,000 for filling the gap in funding to renovate and expand an existing location and purchase equipment to create a dental clinic. And Univision Child Care in the amount of $250,000 for leasing and renovating space to expand a Spanish immersion center for early education. Since our last committee meeting, full council has received information regarding all of the proposals submitted, including organization name, funding requested, total project budget, amount recommended, total cost of the project, location of the community facility in the city, and a brief summary of the actual proposal. That's all I have, Council President.
Thank you very much, Councilor Arroyo. I'll take other council comments on the first reading of this bill.
Council President, if I may.
Councilor Ahmed.
I just want to take a second to appreciate the additional information that was provided to council. And I would also like to, in the future, maybe make a recommendation that other council members can have access to the actual proposals, as it would be beneficial to help us understand, have full confidence in the committee and the process that was taken. But I do believe in the future it would be beneficial for us to have access to the actual proposals.
Thank you, Councilor Ahmed. Further council comments on the first read?
If
Councilor
I may,
Fleet.
Madam President, the question that I have is, are there any measures in place to ensure that the funds will be used effectively and efficiently?
Yes, thank you for the comment, Councilor Lashard. So the city administration will be working with each of the award recipients to negotiate a contract, and there will be clawback provisions if there's, and milestones that need to be hit in order to receive the funding.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Calixte. Comments from the public on the first reading of the bill? Ms. Byrd, good evening.
Darlene Byrd, Ann Street. A couple of questions I have. One, and I think I mentioned this to you in the committee meeting, was about the $750,000 for the Price Building. I'm still having a hard time trying to understand why the school district thought the building needed to be tore down to build a new school, but yet city council thinks it's worth investing $750,000 to renovate it. I mean, we went and I think it's $26 million they are going to spend to build a new school at Price. I think the mayor, you commented about trying to change Price into a community center, but I really question council wanting to put $750,000 in a building that someone, the school district of Lancaster in particular, felt was not worth renovating that building for our children, and thought that the building needed to be demolished to build a new building. So I question council on that and putting that money to that. I also question council about the ARPA funds. I remember the last round of ARPA funds that was released was a resolution. And I believe when the ARPA money came, particularly Amanda Bakay, I mean President Bakay, I remember you stating that, you know, this is your chance as council to be held accountable to the money. I rewatched the video of council and the comments you made. I was trying to figure out how to bring it to council with the little snippets of the comments that council members made about holding people and being responsible and accountable when we're taking money of this nature and spending so much in renovations, when you have an opportunity to invest more money in a new building in the southeast area where nothing new has really been in that area, especially on the economic development. If you look at where all the money's being spent, with the exception of the Crispus Attucks, which is only getting a portion of the money awarded to CAP for their building, which is in great need, we need to question. Most of that is in the northwest, the northeast, and the south, and the southwest, and not in the southeast. The southeast got the smallest portion. Again, bringing question to council about where we're spending our money, and the cry from the southeast, we're continually being neglected. I mean, I think we came to council originally asking for $500,000. We then asked for $886,000. We were awarded money by the state of $400,000. So we came back and asked for $400,000, and you gave us less than that. Councilman Aurora, I think you said, well, you need to put some skin in the game. We started this project in 2019, and we invested a lot of money in the game to bring it to this point where we already got approvals done, paid for, our architect and planning, money that our organization raised. So I'm asking council to relook at how they're allocating money, consider giving South End the $400,000 that it ended up requesting. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Byrd.
And Council President, if I may.
Councilor Arroyo.
Just for clarification, the proposal that was submitted from South End Concerned Neighbors was actually for 100% of the funding that was reviewed by the committee. The money that was received from RCAP or RCAT funds was happened during the process after decisions have already been made.
Thank you, Councilor Arroyo.
And if I can comment on that, I did
Just
call,
briefly, yes.
Okay, I did call the city and said, we got some money, we're asking for less money. Are we allowed to do that? Was told, yes, that would be really good that you're asking for less money. I did inform you as soon as I found out that we had it. And the first thing I said, hey, we're asking for less money. You said that's always good. So you were aware of that, and that was before the decision was made. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Byrd. And congratulations on receiving the RCAP funds. and for these funds to be allocated as well.
And Council for President, for one point of clarification as well, no proposal that was submitted received 100% funding.
Thank you.
Council President,
Council Diaz?
at this time, I need to excuse myself to a funeral.
Yes.
Just in case anybody knows that I'm disappearing here.
Thank you. Councilor Diaz did inform me ahead of time that she may need to step out. She is excused for the remainder of the evening. Are there any other public comments on the first reading of this bill? Good evening.
Greetings, everyone. My name's Christy Arend, and I'm representing Community Action Partnership of Lancaster County, whose headquarters is located at 601 South Queen Street in Lancaster. Our CEO, Vanessa Filbert, could not be here tonight. She's out of town, but sends her regards. We just wanted to begin by thanking President Bakay, Councilor Arroyo, the mayor and her team, and certainly the entire Community Facilities Committee who worked so hard on this RFP process. We're so appreciative of your focus on improving our community spaces here in Lancaster. Just as the City of Lancaster has committed to a block-by-block journey to build a stronger, more equitable Lancaster, we at CAP have made a commitment to transforming generational poverty so that everyone can thrive within the vision that we hold for our community, which is one of equity, justice, and prosperity. As we consider this funding opportunity, we focused on improvements that would create safer and more usable space to enhance the experience of folks accessing support services and engaging in community programming. Should Council approve the recommendations by the committee, which we certainly hope you will do, CAP will move forward with rehabilitations for two of our programs, the Crispus Attucks Community Center and Domestic Violence Services of Lancaster, as Councilor Arroyo mentioned. For DVS, we're enhancing safe places in the City of Lancaster with repairs and upgrades at Bridge House, our apartment-style transitional living facility on the west side of the city. This is a sanctuary space, and improving its design and function will provide domestic violence survivors and their families the dignity and peace that they deserve on their journey towards healing. Included in our application are hopes for renovations, including new lighting, ensuring kitchen spaces are safe and functional, installing new windows, and installing a laundry space for residents, among others. For Crispus Attucks, we're building a strong neighborhood through repairs and upgrades to a historic space on the southeast side of the City of Lancaster, where Black and brown neighbors have gathered together for nearly 100 years and where the dream of continued community growth through expanded programming lives. Renovations we hope to complete with the funding include the repair of sidewalks, new outdoor lighting, an upgraded security and fire system, repair of window panes, and installation of an air conditioning system, which would be a first for the center building. Again, thank you so much for your work, your time, and commitment to supporting safe, accessible, equitable, and thriving spaces here in Lancaster. Thank you, Christy.
Thank you, Ms. Arand. Are there any further comments from the public? Good evening.
Good evening. Hi, my name is Rachel Helwig. I'm the Development and Communications Manager for Church World Service Lancaster. And so I'd like to thank you for your recommendation to fund our sort of warehouse of welcome project in partnership with St. James. As you might know, over the past 35 years, CWS Lancaster has resettled more than 7,000 new refugee neighbors and supported many of our immigrant neighbors with immigration legal services. And we know that those folks have gone on to be valued members of our community, entrepreneurs, colleagues, friends, members of our faith community, and have strengthened Lancaster over these past 35 years. This project supports the City of Lancaster's goals to build a stronger and more equitable Lancaster, and recognizing that many refugees and immigrants have faced violence and trauma as a part of their migration story, and in some cases, as we heard tonight, continue to face discrimination and hateful rhetoric as they begin their lives in Lancaster. It's really important that the city and CWS continue to affirm the importance of our newest neighbors, the role that they play in making our personal lives, our friendships, our workplaces better every day. And we appreciate the opportunity to utilize these funds to continue to ensure Lancaster's welcome. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Good evening.
Nice to see you all. Good evening. I'm Heather Digay. I'm the Executive Director of the Lancaster Recreation Commission. And I just wanted to say thank you to the mayor and to city council and to other members of the committee who helped for this. This would be a historic investment for Lancaster Rec. Lancaster Rec has provided educational and recreation programming for the city of Lancaster for more than 100 years, and we have served thousands. And you don't have to raise your hand if you were part of a Lancaster Rec program, but I'm guessing there are people in this room that were. We have held programs at our rec center since 1976, and in the last 50 years, a lot has changed, and we are out of space. We regularly change over our 25,000 square foot facility multiple times a day to accommodate our programming, and we have no additional space to add programming at our center to serve any more children, seniors, or adults or families that come to the center. So with this funding, we would be able to expand our senior services by providing a more than 3 times the size square footage than the space they're currently in. We've got them all kind of squished together, and many of those city residents take the bus for free to our center for free breakfast, lunch, and recreation programs every day. The investment in recreation and education programs will allow us to expand our childcare services to more than nearly 900 children in the city, which will move children off wait list and into programs, which means their parents will be able to work. As well as we'll add programs for early Head Start and Head Start to meet the needs of the current wait list, which has over 100 children on it for early Head Start, most of which live in the city. The childcare spots will also help solve part of the childcare crisis that is now gripping not only Lancaster City, but the state and the country as well. I myself have to take off of work this Thursday because my childcare provider will be closed because of staffing issues. Nearly 60% of childcare providers, particularly those in urban areas, closed after the pandemic. Childcare, our economy in Lancaster will not work without childcare. This investment makes sure that we can provide economic mobility for working families and will pay back dividends, as Harvard economist James Hurd says that for every dollar you invest in childcare, it returns up to $16 on the dollar in community benefits. The investment will continue also to expand recreation programs in our community to enhance residents' quality of life and bring joy and enrichment in the lives of our residents. So please know that the investment of the American Rescue Funds will pay dividends for decades to come in education, recreation, friendships, joy, enrichment, and wellness for residents in the city of Lancaster. Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening.
Good evening, council members, community members, Madam Mayor, and the amazing organizations represented here tonight. My name is Isaiah Perry, Program Director at Brightside Opportunity Center. Thank you to the City Council, staff, and City of Lancaster for the recommendation for this generous grant. I bring you comments from our President and CEO, Willana McLeod. She is so sorry she is unable to attend to be here for this momentous occasion. However, she is out of town attending a funeral. Brightside Opportunity Center, or BSOC, has been an anchor in the southwest section of the city since 2004. We provide opportunities dedicated to individual achievement and to strengthening the community through collaboration and programs that are both educational and inclusive. The funding provided will allow us to replace aging infrastructure at our facility. Specifically, we will replace the front doors with the vestibule that is operated by handicap-accessible doors, allowing us to maintain a constant temperature in our lobby. Additionally, we will replace 10 HVAC units that are well past their ability to provide adequate cooling and heating and replace our aging elevator. Also, our classrooms will be updated for a 21st century learning environment on par with our high-quality STEM programming for our youth. Our gym will receive a scoreboard to enhance youth programming and our recreational programs. If you have been blessed to receive a BSOC meal, you'll be happy to hear that our kitchen will receive a new freezer, stove, and dishwasher. Finally, we will replace external security doors and paint the facility. Again, thank you so much for this opportunity. The grant recommendation is greatly appreciated and will be used wisely. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Are there any other recipients here this evening? There are. I saw Marilyn first. Okay, great. She was jumping up.
I just got to go.
Good evening.
But I just want to take the opportunity again to thank you for the consideration of this. SACA has been in the community for the last 50 years and investing in the Centro Hispano. If you've been there, we need that, right? That center has been in operations for 50 years serving our community. Just in 2021, we served over 48,000 meals to our community. And this is food insecurity, individuals that need that among the senior citizen and other human services that we offer there. In regards at the Saga Development project at Southeast, with the expansion of new training programs, the idea is to provide additional training path to our community members to ensure and empower them for them to have a sustained jobs. You know, one of the things that we are focusing, making sure that we train our city residents to get those jobs that will move them out of poverty. And that opportunity would allow us to build and expand our manufacturing program at the new center in metal casting and welding, among other trainings. So this investment really will allow us to expand and continue our work and mission here in the city. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Hello, I am Jamie Hall. I'm the Director of Development at Lancaster Public Library. I am so honored to be here tonight, and we are so honored to be part of the amazing list of organizations that you are considering for grant funding. And we are so deeply appreciative of your consideration and for the recommendation. As you all know, since I am no stranger to attending these meetings, that we are getting towards our opening date of the new library. By funding this grant proposal, it would allow us to fill that gap to getting us closer to that $10 million campaign total. That $10 million campaign total completely modernizes our library. It turns us into that modern library that our Lancaster community deserves. In 2019, we served over 350,000 visitors, and we have Lancaster City residents have about 52% of residents have a Lancaster Public Library card. We are one of the very few places left that you can simply exist for free. And we are a welcoming center, and we are very, very honored that you guys recognize our work in the community along with the many others on this list. We appreciate your consideration and are always happy to answer any questions. And if I can't answer them, there is a reference librarian in our library that can certainly answer them for you. So thank you all for your consideration.
Thank you very much. And just to confirm, what is the last date at your Duke Street location?
April 19th is our last date that we will be open. We'll be open until 7 p.m.
April 19th.
We anticipate a end of May open date at the new library.
Very excited about that. Terrific. So Saturday, April 22nd, 10 to 12, Parade of Books.
There might be some popcorn bubbles and exciting colors.
You never know, right?
It sounds very environmentally friendly to walk a book.
Yeah.
So, Earth Day
Very
celebration.
serendipitous. Perfect. Thank you very much. Did I miss anyone? All right. Well, we will be taking this to a vote at our next meeting on April 25th. I want to again thank everyone from the organizations who are on this list for coming out this evening and sharing with us your projects, your missions, your impacts. This is truly incredible and things that we don't typically get to do as members of city council or municipal government is to grant these types of dollars or any type of dollars, really. So this is incredible. Thank you very much. Okay. You're welcome to stay if you'd like, but we'll continue with our rest of our legislative agenda. We move to item D, which is resolutions. The first item is resolution number 23 of 2023. Mr. Harris.
A resolution of the Council of the City of Lancaster approving an amended capital project list to be funded by the proceeds of the City of Lancaster General Obligation Bonds, Series of 2016A.
Motion to approve. Second.
We have, a motion and a second. This is Councilor Ahmed, the Finance Committee.
Thank you, Council President. This resolution would take funds from completed projects through bond reallocations to help fund the Public Works Operations Center and Salt Shed, equipment storage, and city archive storage. So just moving some completed project funds to a new project.
Thank you, Councilor Ahmed.
And Council President, if I may, I want to also take the moment to thank the Department of Public Works for the capital planning that they've been doing, really looking ahead into the future for the better of our city.
Are there any other council comments on the motion? From the public? Hearing none, Mr. Harris?
Mr. Ahmed?
Aye.
Mr. Arroyo?
Aye.
Mr. Cleese?
Aye.
Ms. Craig?
Aye.
Ms. Diaz? Sorry. Ms. Walsh?
Aye.
President Baker?
Aye. Resolution number 24, 2023. Mr. Harris.
A resolution of the Council of the City of Lancaster approving an amended capital project list to be funded by the proceeds of the City of Lancaster General Obligation Bonds, Series of 2018.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Councilor Ahmed.
Thank you, Council President. Once again, this is a reallocation of capital project funds from completed projects to rehabilitate the current pedestrian bridge at Northeast Greenway. Also, additional funds needed for green infrastructure investments and $1.45 million for new projects in our sewer fund.
Thank you. Any councilor comments on the resolution? From the public? Hearing none, Mr. Harris.
Mr. Ahmed?
Aye.
Mr. Arroyo?
Aye.
Mr. Cleese?
Aye.
Ms. Craig?
Aye.
Ms. Walsh?
Aye.
President Baker?
Aye. Resolution 25, 2023. Mr. Harris.
A resolution of the Council of the City of Lancaster approving an amended capital project list to be funded by the proceeds of the City of Lancaster General Obligation Bonds, Series of 2022.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Feels like Groundhog Day. Councilor Ahmed.
Thank you again, Council President. This resolution is in regards to the bond series of 2022. There is a change of the Culleton Park Phase 2 to be renamed to General Facility Improvements. There's also $750,000 being amended to go towards the replacing of 2,100 feet of a 100-year-old sewer line, a water line, excuse me, and then also $400,000 to city crews to work on the George Street project in Millersville, as well as making funds available for a grant match, $4.2 million for a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for our water fund. So I just want to thank the Department of Public Works again, and let's cross our fingers.
Thank you, Councilor Ahmed. Are there any council comments on the resolution? From the public? Hearing none, Mr. Harris.
Mr. Ahmed?
Aye.
Mr. Arroyo?
Aye.
Mr. Cleese?
Aye.
Ms. Craig?
Aye.
Ms. Walsh?
Aye.
And President Baker?
Aye. Resolution number 26, 2023.
A resolution of the Council of the City of Lancaster approving the adoption of an amendment to the Act 537 Official Sewage Facilities Plan for the City of Lancaster.
Motion to approve?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Councilor Craig for this one.
Thank you, Council President. We've done these several times. The Pennsylvania Department of Environmental Protection required that the municipality to adopt an official sewage facilities plan providing for services adequate to prevent contamination of the waters of the Commonwealth and or environmental health hazards with sewage waste, and to amend when necessary to ensure there is adequate sewage disposal. The Gray House Property Holding Company has proposed development of a parcel of land at 422 Ruby Street and is asking this subdivision be served by sewer tap-ins and sewer extension. The city finds that this project conforms with applicable sewer-related zoning and other ordinances and plans, and also to a comprehensive program of pollution control and water quality.
Thank you, Councilor Craig. Are there any council comments on the resolution? From the public? Hearing none, Mr. Harris.
Mr. Ahmed.
Aye.
Mr. Arroyo.
Aye.
Mr. Cleese.
Aye.
Ms. Craig.
Aye.
Ms. Walsh.
Aye.
President Beke.
Aye. All right. We move then to resolution number 27, 2023. Mr. Harris.
A resolution of the Council of the City of Lancaster authorizing the mayor to submit the 2023 Annual Action Plan, Year 3 of the city's 2021 to 2025 5-year consolidated plan, to the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development. The submission includes the projected use of funds for the Community Development Block Grant Program during the 2023 program year.
Motion to approve?
Second.
There is a motion and a second. Councilor Craig.
Thank you, Council President. The Bureau of Lead and Safety Community Development is responsible for administering the city's federal funding received from the Department of Housing and Urban Development. This includes preparing the 5-year consolidated plan and each year's annual action plan that guides the use of the city's federal entitlement funding. For 2023, the City of Lancaster will receive approximately $1.5 million from the Community Development Block Grant Program, which is about 5%, a 5% reduction from 2022. For the second year in a row, the city will not receive ESG funding. Over 50% of the city's CDBG, oh my goodness, what a tongue twister, allocations will go towards maintaining and increasing quality affordable housing, and the remaining funding will go towards public infrastructure, improvements, public services, micro enterprise development, planning activities, and program administrations.
Thank you very much, Councilor Craig. We had a rather lengthy presentation on the, the annual plan at our committee meeting. Are there any council comments on the resolution?
Council President.
Councilor Walsh.
My question is, of the 1.5 for the CDBG dollars that we're getting, how much of that is going to salaries or admin? I don't think that was entirely clear to me last time during the presentation.
Good evening. Thank you for your question. Did collect this information. It's a complex grant, so there's many pages. All right. So for CDBG program administration, all told for salaries and benefits for that particular grant administration is $180,000, and that funds 1.75 FTEs to administer the CDBG grants internally.
Thank you very much. Did you have anything further, Councilor Walsh?
No, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you for that.
Sure.
As a follow-up to that, just to say that there are other salaries that are covered through the CDBG grant, but that are directly programmatic related. So our housing social worker, for example, is a position that's funded through CDBG funding, but is not administrative.
That's what I was looking for.
Okay.
Thank you. So I was just wondering, in relationship to that, so maybe you don't have that in front of you, because I know you can only use about 10%, maybe 15% for admin costs, but I guess my question, thank you, Mayor, was more total FTEs does it provide salary for?
Sure. So all told, an additional 7 FTEs of direct services, which includes the Health Bureau Health and Housing Social Worker position, Department of Neighborhood Engagement, 1 FTE, Police, 1 FTE for the police social worker positions. That's split between 2 positions in eligible service areas. Approximately half an FTE on lead and housing rehabilitation. And then property maintenance and housing inspections, 3 full-time equivalents across the Bureau in eligible service areas for eligible activities.
Thank you, that's very helpful.
Thank you. Any other council comments? And from the public? Ms. Byrd,
What's that dollar amount come to?
your question was what the dollar amount was for the salaries, is that correct? Thank you.
So the way that the CDBG funding is split up is actually by program and by the services provided, so by the eligible services. And so each individual, we're not particularly funding a salary, although that is what the Bureau then is putting that money toward. We are funding an eligible service, and within the Bureau budget, then that service is being split up between staffing and other direct costs. So I could speak to the FTEs, but really the amounts that are covering those are not even really fully covering the full salary and the full benefit. It's more an allocation toward the program for the eligible service.
So the FTEs, just to kind of characterize this, are part of the program.
Yes.
Without them, there is no program. Without the program, there is no FTE. They're all considered part of the program budget. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
And CDBG is funding a part of that, but direct service budget to the community.
Thank you.
Yes.
Further comments from the public? Hearing none, Mr. Harris.
Mr. Mann.
Aye.
Mr. Royo.
Aye.
Mr. Cleese.
Aye.
Ms. Gregg.
Aye.
Ms. Walsh.
Aye.
President Bake.
Aye. Our next resolution is Resolution Number 28, 2023. Mr. Harris.
A resolution of the Council of the City of Lancaster authorizing the execution of a cooperation agreement with the YWCA Lancaster in connection with the YWCA Lancaster Y Forward Construction Project at 110 North Lime Street, Lancaster, Pennsylvania, 17602.
Motion to approve?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Councilor Craig.
Thank you, Council President. The YWCA has 2 related RACB grants. The total amount of the grants is $3 million. All the funding is going towards their Y Forward campaign, which is a capital campaign to modernize and repurpose their historic building. The YWCA is planning a variety of activities in this project, including remodeling the building for new, better office space, as well as providing affordable housing, an affordable housing option. That's all I have.
Thank you, Councilor Craig. Are there any council comments on the resolution?
Council President,
Councilor Walsh.
just as a point of clarification, this money needs to be granted to a municipality,
Yes.
and then the city will be the administrator of the funds.
That's correct. The RACP funds require a municipal partner.
Great, thank you.
Yep. Thank you for that clarification.
Yeah, let me just add that the
Councilor Craig.
grant it requires that the city has a cooperation agreement with the Y so that we act as administrators.
Thanks. Comments from the public? Ms. Blake, good evening.
Good evening, Stacy Blake, CEO of YWCA Lancaster, where our mission is to eliminate racism and empower women. I just want to say thank you to council and Mayor Sirachi.
Thank you, and congratulations on receiving this RACP grant. Any further comment from the public? Hearing none, Mr. Harris.
Mr. Mann.
Aye.
Mr. Royo.
Aye.
Mr. Cleese.
Aye.
Ms. Gregg.
Aye.
Ms. Walsh.
Aye.
President Bake.
Aye. And we have Resolution Number 29, 2023. Mr. Harris.
A resolution of the Council of the City of Lancaster authorizing the execution of a cooperation agreement with the College Avenue Property Holdings LLC in connection with the College Avenue redevelopment project at 250 College Avenue, Lancaster, Pennsylvania, 17603.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Counselor Craig again.
Thank you, Council President. The College Avenue RAPI award is $1.5 million. It is for the redevelopment of the former hospital campus on College Avenue to reactivate this vacant site with a mixed use.
Thank you very much. And Counselor Craig, this is the same type of grant that requires a municipal administrative partner, is that correct?
You're absolutely correct.
Thank you. Are there any other council comments on the resolution? Comments from the public? Hearing none, Mr. Harris.
Mr. Ahmed,
Aye.
Mr. Arroyo,
Aye.
Mr. Calise,
Aye.
Ms. Gregg,
Aye.
Ms. Walsh,
Aye.
President Beke.
Aye. And then finally, we have on our legislative agenda, Resolution Number 30, 2023. Mr. Harris.
A resolution of the City of Lancaster authorizing the proper officers of the City of Lancaster to expend $800,000 of the city's fiscal recovery funds received from the United States Department of Treasury to fund, in conjunction with the County of Lancaster and the Lancaster County Redevelopment Authority, the construction and implementation of additional low-barrier shelter capacity within the City of Lancaster, and $800,000 of the city's fiscal recovery funds received from the United States Department of the Treasury to fund the development of a permanent center for homelessness services, shelter, and housing for persons experiencing homelessness within the City of Lancaster.
Thank you.
Council President, I would ask that we table this until the 25th so that we have a little more time to do more research.
Counselor Craig has made a motion to table. Is there a second?
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Counselor Craig, thank you for that. Council has been made aware, and we posed some questions during the last meeting regarding the Exhibit A that was attached to the resolution in terms of enforcement, in terms of a time frame for the dollars, and the administration is looking into making those changes. Mayor Sirachi, do you have anything to add about the changes that we can expect to see?
No, I just want to thank Craig and Rebecca on our team for working through changes being considered for council to take up on April 25th. And we continue to work with the Redevelopment Authority and the county to come to a satisfactory conclusion where we're continuing to elevate the needs of the homeless individuals that find themselves in the city of Lancaster, to increase the number of shelter beds that are available from 40 to 80.
Thank you, and I appreciate the administration's attention to detail, as I feel that this is incredibly important and not something that we want to get wrong. So, thank you for that. Are there any other council comments on the motion to table the item? From the public? Ms. Byrd?
Yes, I just want to commend council for tabling. I know I was at the meeting and there was a lot of questions and a lot of things unanswered, and I'm glad that you're taking the time to make some changes to find those answers.
Thank you, Ms. Byrd. Any further comments from the public? Hearing none, Mr. Harris?
Mr. Ahmed,
Aye.
Mr. Arroyo,
Aye.
Mr. Calise, Ms. Gregg,
Aye.
Ms. Walsh,
Aye.
President Beke.
Aye.
Motion
Thank
is
you.
tabled.
Motion is tabled, I'm sorry, I cut you off, Mr. Harris. Until the 25th, is that
Yeah, I'm
correct?
sorry. Yes,
Okay, thank you.
Resolution is tabled.
I don't make you talk any longer. I hear it in your voice. That we have reached the end of our legislative agenda this evening, and we now move to our second public comment period. This is open for comment about issues that were not previously on the agenda. Again, durations of comments is limited to no longer than 3 minutes per speaker per item. Are there any public comments this evening? Ms. Byrd, thank you.
Darlene Bird. I'm going to bring up our parking. I think we talked about it a lot, and We were supposed to rewrite the residential parking. Nothing has really happened. That was 3 years. We are still looking to rewrite that. We have people in the 100 block that want to get residential parking. We got people in the 200 block that don't want to get residential parking, and I understand that. But I think not to address parking, we had meetings for almost 9 months. I think Public Works Director Campbell attended our meetings, and the neighbors came together. We offered some suggestions, and we just don't see where that is moving or how it's being addressed. We think we've been patient, and I would like to see what council is planning to address parking within the city.
Thank you, Ms. Byrd. I appreciate that. Are there any other public comments this evening? Hearing none, we'll close the public comment period. We'll move to the report of the mayor. Mayor Sarachi.
Thank you, Council President. I do just want to acknowledge our State House representative is in the room. We are fortunate that he continues to come back, so thank you for that. The City of Lancaster Strategic Plan names climate resilience as a key goal in ensuring that we have safe places. With Earth Day coming up, I'd like to briefly spotlight some of the environmental efforts the city continues to push forward. Let's start with waste. In 2022, city street sweepers collected 510 tons of debris and litter from our streets. So yes, moving your car does matter. The city continues to collaborate with the Lancaster Compost Co-op to offer composting in many city parks. In their first year, the co-op diverted nearly 200,000 pounds of food waste from regular trash hauling, saving the city money, net cost savings of $5,000, and lowering our greenhouse gas emissions at about 472 tons of CO2. Lots more work to do there, but it is encouraging. On stormwater and protecting our waterways, we have excelled in implementing green infrastructure across the city. We have over 200 rain gardens capturing stormwater to help prevent our combined sewer overflows. Those gardens also serve as traffic calming measures, and when in bloom, both beautify neighborhoods and provide habitat for pollinators. And we're moving full steam ahead with protecting and expanding our tree canopy, as was presented to you as part of our Trees for the People initiative when Cody was here a few weeks ago. We're very fortunate to have received $500,000 in county ARPA funds to fuel this effort. We also launched River Connections, which is a project that aims to foster connections between residents and the Conestoga River through storytelling, poetry, and art. The River Connections crew installed 4 storm drain murals and did 5 neighborhood cleanups so far. We're really excited to see this project continued and very much inspired by the young people that are engaged in the River Connections project. If you have an opportunity to participate in one of the cleanup efforts or hear what some of these young people are doing and talking about, it is truly inspiring. And finally, I just wanted to share that the City of Lancaster is continuing to make progress on its climate action plan that was introduced way back in 2019. We're exploring how to leverage solar on city-owned property to offset municipal energy costs, looking at fleet management, and more. So as I mentioned at the top of our meeting tonight, we are working on a detailed update that Director Campbell will be sharing with council in the coming months. Regenal, you're still here. Thank you for sticking it out to the very end. The Climate Summit on April 22nd, very excited about this. It's a really packed schedule, lots of really interesting climate topics. Also just want to mention that Water Week is on the horizon, taking place the first week of June. Water Week is hosted by the Lancaster Conservancy and is a time for Lancaster to celebrate and bring awareness to our rivers and streams. The city and our public works staff have been a key partner in this event for years and host special events during the week to elevate our awareness of water and water quality. And as spring is blooming fully a month early, which is astounding, it is a very perfect time to reflect on how to be good stewards of our shared environment. So with that, thank you.
Thank you very much, Mayor Sarachi. That takes us to the report of President of Council, and I have none this evening, but I'll take any council comments at this time. Hearing none, and having reached the conclusion of our agenda, I will hear a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.